My fellow Americans, this is John Muntean talking to you again from MunteanForAmerica.com. The purpose of this short video is to give you an introduction into where I stand on climate change and the Green New Deal. Now, I'm no scientist, I'm not the expert in this, but I do understand a little bit about what's going on, and I certainly understand the statistics I'm about to present to you that begin my foundation for where I attack this issue. Now, obviously, I believe that man has been charged by God to have dominion over this planet, and it is our responsibility to be effective stewards of this planet, and I certainly believe in ecological responsibility and doing anything we can to mitigate human activity and its impact on this planet. But the reality of the statistics are pretty simple to me. We know from thermodynamics that 99% of the heat energy on this planet has everything to do with the Earth's relationship to the sun, and all the other activities on this planet account for the other 1%. So at best, man has the ability to impact part of that 1%. And we also know that there's been times in the history of this planet where it's been much colder and much warmer than it is today. And those temperature fluctuations had very little to do with any human activity. Some of it occurred before humans were even on the planet. So to draw the conclusion that the only reason it's getting hot now is because of our ability to impact that part of that 1%, to me, doesn't necessarily pass the sense test. The next thing is, by saying the Earth is getting warmer, we're drawing on data that we've collected basically over the last 150 years. Now, if you agree that the data collection 150 years ago to today is as consistent as it can be, and you know that while we may be able to analyze the atmosphere today or do other tests to confirm suspicions of human activity, we have no data really that sophisticated beginning from the time we have temperature data. If you were to take that 150 years of data and present it to a statistician and have him draw conclusions from it on a planet that is 13.5 billion years old, according to scientists, he would simply tell you, you don't have a large enough sample size to draw any conclusions. In fact, the amount of data that we have been collecting is only, as a percentage of the life of the planet, is 0.601 of the life of the planet. No statistician can draw a conclusion from that sample size. It would be the equivalent of a pollster going to one American and asking them who's going to win this presidential election and say their answer is definitive. I don't think anybody would agree with that statistic as a foundation for action, and I certainly don't. The next thing I would articulate is the idea that the world is becoming overpopulated, and it's not to the point that it's not sustainable. There are roughly 8 billion people on the planet today. If you were to take those 8 billion people, every man, woman, and child on the planet, and move them to the great state of Texas, every man, woman, and child on the planet would have 900 square feet of living space on the ground. Now, that is a laughable potential. We don't want to move everybody to Texas. And Texas may be a big state, but it ain't that big when you compare it to the rest of the world. But the point is, there's a lot of room on this planet. There's a lot of people to be distributed across the scope of this planet. We do have problems. We do have issues we need to deal with. We do have sustainment issues: food, clothing, shelter, water. I get that. I'm not saying there are problems we have to deal with. But to say that the world is overpopulated to the point that the planet can't sustain it, to me, doesn't pass the sense test. Now, I will acknowledge that the people that are in charge of this planet, that feel they have dominion over us, realize there comes a level where the population control becomes an issue. But I think that's more the issue than whether or not the planet has the capacity to sustain itself. I'll go into some more detail about each of these issues and how I think we need to attack the effects of climate. And I look forward to hearing your comments and analysis, and I'm more than willing to respond. But that's it for now. Thank you for listening. This is John Muntean for Muntean for America. God bless, and God bless America.